Some stories live on because they're too strange to ignore. Others linger because they're too dangerous to tell out loud. What I'm about to share is both. This isn't a campfire horror story, and it isn't a rumor floating on the internet. It's something I lived through. I was there the night Pac died. I was there with Diddy. And what he said that night has stayed inside me like a curse I can't shake. It didn't start the way you'd think. There was no grand plan, no obsession with being part of that world. I wasn't chasing fame or trying to sneak into places where I didn't belong. I was just another guy clearing my head at a small club one night. I liked going out alone. No pressure, no eyes on me, just music, lights, and the chance to disappear into the background. That night, the club was alive, but not overwhelming. The bass rattled the floor, colored lights flickered across the smoke, and for once, I felt at peace. Then someone slid onto the bar stool beside me. At first, I barely noticed. Just another man ordering a drink. But when he turned, it was like he had been waiting for me. His smile was casual, but too casual. And his voice cut through the music in a way that made my skin prickle. "You like going out alone, don't you?" It wasn't asked like a question. He said it like a fact, like he already knew. I muttered something about there being less pressure that way. He nodded, chuckled low, and leaned closer. "Yeah, no eyes on you. Nobody judging. That's how you spot who's ready." I frowned. Ready for what? He didn't answer. He just sipped his drink, his eyes gleaming like he was enjoying my confusion. Then he said it. "You ever been to one of Diddy's parties?" I laughed nervously. "Yeah, right. I don't exactly get those invites." His grin widened. From inside his jacket, he pulled a card. Small, black, embossed with a strange shimmering symbol. No name, no logo. Just something that caught the neon lights wrong, bending them like oil on water. "Tonight," he said. "It's happening right now. You won't see it on Instagram. You won't hear about it tomorrow, but if you want to know what really happens, follow me." I wanted to laugh it off, to say he had the wrong guy, but something about his tone pressed against me like a weight. He tapped the card against the bar, slid it toward me, and said, "Don't take too long. The door doesn't stay open forever." Then he walked out without looking back. The card sat in front of me, black and gleaming. I should have walked away, but curiosity is a disease. Minutes later, I was in an Uber, following his taillights through streets I thought I knew, but leading somewhere I didn't belong. The driver didn't speak. The longer we drove, the emptier the streets became. Until suddenly, there it was. A mansion rising out of the night, glowing with soft golden light. At first, it looked like a dream. But the closer we came, the more wrong it felt. The walls seemed too tall, the windows too wide, the shadows too long. Music pulsed from inside, steady and low, like a heartbeat echoing through the earth. The gates opened by themselves. The Uber rolled up the drive. When I reached into my pocket, the card felt alive, pulsing faintly, almost in time with the music. My stomach churned. I considered turning back, but when I looked up, the driver was gone. The car door was already open, and I stepped out into air thick and sweet, like perfume hiding something rotten beneath. The mansion wasn't just big, it was alive. The walls seemed to breathe, The chandeliers swayed even though there was no wind. And when the front doors opened, a man in a dark suit gestured me inside. He didn't ask for my name, he didn't ask for an invitation, he just stepped aside. Inside, everything hit at once. Light, sound. Famous faces blurred together, singers, actors, athletes. They were alive, too alive. Their laughter was sharp, brittle, like glass about to break. Drinks trembled in their hands. Kisses lingered too long. And everywhere. Eyes darted like they were watching something invisible in the room. That's when I saw him. Orlando Brown. He moved through the crowd like a conductor. Wherever he touched, people changed. One moment they were laughing, the next crying, the next grinning like puppets pulled by strings. His eyes found mine. He raised a glass, and for the first time that night, I felt something cold creep through my veins. But colder still was when I saw Diddy. He wasn't dancing, he wasn't laughing. He wasn't even pretending to be part of the chaos. He just stood still watching. His expression calm, almost serene. And when his eyes locked on me, the rest of the room disappeared. And that was the beginning of the night I can never forget. My body moved before my mind caught up. It was like some invisible tether pulled me toward him. The closer I came, the colder the air grew until my skin prickled. Diddy nodded once, satisfied, then turned and walked away. The crowd closed behind us like a door slamming shut. I followed him down a narrow hallway. The music faded until there was nothing left but my own footsteps echoing against the walls. The corridor stretched longer than it should have. Every step pressed heavier on my chest, as if the air itself was turning against me. At the far end, a crimson glow seeped out from beneath a door. It pulsed faintly, like light through veins. Diddy stopped at the threshold. The glow painted his face in blood-red shadows. His smile cut across the darkness like a blade. "Come on," he said softly. "You've already been chosen." Those words sank into me like ice. My stomach dropped, but my feet carried me forward. The door opened without a sound, and the moment I stepped inside, silence crashed over me like a coffin lid closing. The air smelled faintly of iron. Velvet curtains lined the walls, but they weren't still. They swelled and deflated, breathing like lungs. The light itself seemed alive, pulsing thick and wet. At the center of the room stood Diddy. Perfect suit, calm face, patient eyes. But the shadows around him twitched and bent, like something vast and hungry was pressing from inside his skin. "You feel it?" he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the bones of the room. "It's in the air, in your chest. You already know it." I swallowed hard. "What is it?" His smile widened, calm but terrifying. "The part of me that doesn't die." The shadows rippled at his words, stretching long like claws scraping the walls. He lifted his hand slowly, elegantly, and the darkness moved with it. His flesh and shadow were one. "Take it," he said. His voice wasn't one voice anymore. It was layered, as if a chorus of whispers was speaking through him. "All it needs is contact. One touch, and you'll never fear again. You'll never hunger. You'll never die." The curtains inhaled sharply. The rush of air shoving me closer to him. My chest tightened. My legs buckled. Shadows stretched across the floor, coiling up my ankles. I shook my head. "No, I don't want it." The shadows didn't care. They tightened around my wrists and burned against my skin. Diddy's hand moved closer. It didn't even look like his hand anymore. The veins glowed faint red. His fingers split at the seams, shadows spilling through. His voice boomed now, screams and whispers layered into one. You think no is a choice? You are already marked. I tried to scream, but the darkness pressed into my mouth, my ears, even the corners of my eyes. I felt hollowed out, like claws were pressing from inside my ribs, trying to rip free. His shadow hand hovered inches from my chest, and I swear I felt my heartbeat stutter, like it wanted to leap into his palm. And then, laughter. The door creaked. Orlando Brown slipped into the room, grinning wide, his eyes glittering in the red light. Puff, he drawled. You know he ain't ready. Don't tear the boy apart yet. The shadows faltered. The grip loosened. I collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, chest burning with phantom fire. Diddy's head turned slowly toward Orlando. His eyes were bottomless, black, filled with rage barely held back. He was chosen, Diddy said. Orlando crouched beside me, his cold hand clapping onto my shoulder. The chill cut straight into my veins like frost. And he still is, Orlando said, smirking. But you rush it, and he snaps. You gotta let it settle. Gotta let him want it. He leaned closer, whispering with a grin that stretched too far. Don't worry. They always want it in the end. My hands shook. My throat burned. I whispered, what was he trying to give me? Orlando's grin widened. He whispered back, not a what, man, a who dot. The room dimmed as Orlando pulled me up and steered me back into the hallway. The door closed behind us, sealing the suffocating whispers inside. But the pressure didn't leave me. My chest still burned. My skin crawled like something inside me was waiting, biding its time. As Orlando guided me back toward the party, humming a tuneless melody, I finally saw what was happening around me. Everyone was touching. Hands brushing hands, shoulders leaning, fingers clasping wrists. It wasn't affection. It was current, like electricity passing through bodies. Rappers, singers, executives, eyes glazed, mouths trembling, as if whispering words too soft for me to hear. And at the center was Orlando, arms slightly raised like a conductor. The frequency rose and fell with him. Each movement commanded them like invisible strings tied to their limbs. It wasn't madness, it was choreography, a ritual. And then I felt it. The vibration. Not just in the walls or the floor, but in my own chest. It was alive. It was spreading. And that's when I saw Diddy again. He wasn't watching Orlando anymore. He was watching me, his face slack for a moment, part of the current. But then his expression shifted. His lips curled into a smile, sharp, hungry, promising something worse than death. That was the moment I knew I hadn't just stumbled into a party. I had been brought into something that would follow me forever. People think once you leave a party, the night is over. But that's not how it works in his world. You don't just walk away. Once you step into a circle, it clings to you. It follows. I told myself I wouldn't go back. I told myself I'd forget the mansion, forget the red room, forget the way Orlando whispered, not a what, a who. But then came the job. That's how he traps you. He doesn't offer fame right away. He offers work, stability, something that makes you feel like you belong. It happened the way nightmares do. So ordinary at first, you don't realize it's turning into something worse until it's too late. I was approached by a man in a tailored coat, mid-40s, quiet. He slid a business card toward me, no name on it, just a phrase printed in bold. Discretion earns longevity. A week later, I was on a flight to Los Angeles. Private service, that's what they called it. Not security, not staff, just private service. I didn't even know who the client was until I saw the gates. The mansion rose out of the hedges like it had been waiting for me all along. Inside, it wasn't a house, it was a stage. Every surface spotless, every corner humming with invisible tension. That's when I saw him again. Sean Combs, Diddy, Brother Love, whatever name he wanted that month. He didn't shake my hand. He didn't even ask my name. He just looked me over once and said, "Yeah, he'll do." The paperwork was handled through an agency. Direct deposit, a Cayman account, and a thick rule book. No phones upstairs, no locked doors unless they were his. No talking unless spoken to. The pay was obscene. $8,000 a month, plus housing in the guest suite, meals, black car access. Enough to make anyone ignore the rules. At first, I told myself it was just a job. I wasn't chasing clout. I wasn't trying to break into music. I was just another invisible man cleaning railings and managing deliveries. But then the house started showing me things. There were no clocks, no windows in certain hallways. Rooms filled with music even though no one was inside. The hum was everywhere. A low, wet vibration. You didn't hear so much as feel in your skull, in your teeth. At night, mirrors lined with gold trim seemed to flicker, as if someone was watching from the other side. And Diddy, he didn't move like normal men. Some days he would glide past without a word, as if the ground itself carried him. Other days he'd lock eyes with me too long, smiling like he knew a joke I didn't. Once, around 1 a.m, I turned a corner and nearly jumped out of my skin. He was standing in the middle of a long hallway, in a black robe, staring into a mirror. Not at his face, into his own eyes, like he was waiting for them to blink first. Without turning, he said, "You ever watch yourself long enough that you start seeing someone else?" Another time, I opened a guest suite to prepare it for a visitor, only to find him already sitting on the bed. The room had been empty minutes before. His eyes were unfocused, but he smiled and said, "Just making sure it still feels like a bedroom." Funny how some spaces pretend to be normal. When he left, the covers were folded into a perfect square. On top sat a single black glove. The strangest moment came in the kitchen. He was sitting at the table alone, staring at the microwave. The hum in that room was stronger than anywhere else. I opened my mouth to ask if he needed anything, but before I could speak, he whispered, "It's not the house that makes that sound. It's the part underneath." Then he grinned, not at me, but into the room. I started scrolling my phone during breaks just to feel normal, but even that betrayed me. One afternoon, I stumbled on an old clip. Diddy and Justin Bieber side by side on a talk show. Justin couldn't have been more than 15. Diddy had his arm around him, laughing, calling him family. The audience cheered. The internet joked about father-son energy, but something in me recoiled. It wasn't the words. It was the way Diddy looked at him. Not protective, not friendly. Like he was looking past Justin's smile down into something he thought he owned. More clips appeared. Diddy gifting him cars. Diddy talking about days spent together at the crib, watching movies. People called it mentorship. I felt something darker, like watching a smile before a car crash. Your brain can't explain it, but your body knows. Then one day, the house changed. Guards moved differently. Rooms buzzed with coded chatter. And I was told to clear out. Diddy's bringing Bieber over. That's when everything clicked. The gut feeling, the videos, the hum. It all came together. And instead of leaving, I did the worst thing I could have done. I stayed. The mansion was too quiet that night. Guards patrolled with stiff shoulders, murmuring into radios. Doors were locked that were never locked before. I told them I was leaving, but instead, I slipped into the crawl space that ran behind the walls. A narrow passage meant for wires and repairs, not for hiding men. The wood was sharp, nails sticking out like teeth. I crouched low, heart pounding, eyes fixed on a sliver of light through the cracks. From that slit, I could see into a room I hadn't known existed. Not on the blueprints, not part of any tour. A hidden chamber. The floor was dark stone. A single velvet chair sat in the center. Lights glowed amber, not house lights, but stage lights. Someone had turned this into a performance room with no audience except one man. Diddy. He entered first, moving slowly, hands clasped behind his back. All black, calm, deliberate. Behind him was Justin Bieber, younger than I'd ever seen him in person, still with that boyish look, eyes flicking nervously around the space. He seemed unsure if it was a prank, a test, or something worse. "All right," Diddy said, clapping once. "I want to see you perform." Justin nodded cautiously, cleared his throat, and began to sing softly, like he was preparing an acoustic piece. Diddy waved his hand. "Nah, I don't want to hear you sing. I want to see you perform." The silence stretched so thin it felt like it would snap. Diddy stepped closer, his voice dipping low. "Be your authentic self. Don't hold back. Whatever comes from your heart, that's what I want to see. Right here, right now. Just you and me. This is where stars are made." Justin stood frozen, shifting on his feet. He asked if Diddy meant dance or act or what. But the hunger in Diddy's tone was unmistakable. This wasn't mentorship. It wasn't fatherly guidance. It was something else entirely. Then Justin moved. I won't describe what he did. I can't. All I know is it wasn't music, it wasn't art, it was survival. His body did what it had to do. His face tried to stay neutral, but his eyes, they screamed. Diddy leaned forward in his chair like a judge at the edge of a sick talent show. Behind him, a faint red light blinked on a camera tucked in the shadows. Recording, archiving, proof for someone, somewhere. It went on too long. My knees ached from crouching. My stomach twisted so tight it thought I'd vomit. I pressed my hands over my ears, but I could still hear it. Diddy's voice, calm, cutting through Justin's forced performance. "You always gonna remember this moment. You always gonna remember me." And then came the laugh. Justin's laugh. Hollow. Broken. The kind of laugh people make when their mind splits from their body. A laugh to cover a scream. When it was over, footsteps shuffled, doors opened, then clicked shut. The chamber went silent. But I couldn't move. My body was numb. My heart pounded like a trapped bird. When I finally crawled backward through the narrow passage, I scraped against wires and wood, trying not to cry out. My throat was dry. My hands shook. I stumbled into the hallway, the front door only 30 feet away. Sunlight bleeding through stained glass like salvation. But he was there. Diddy. Standing in front of the door as if he had been waiting. Dressed in black, calm, smiling. Not the fake smile he wore on stage or TV. This one was slow, stretched, lips curling just enough to reveal teeth, like he was tasting something sweet. "Did you like the performance?" he asked, tilting his head. I couldn't answer. My voice was gone. My hands hung limp at my sides. And then I saw it. Not him, what was standing beside him. At first, I thought it was a bodyguard hidden in the shadows. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized it wasn't a man at all. Too tall. Shoulders hunched like it didn't know how to wear its skin. Its hand rested on Diddy's shoulder. Not protective, but possessive. It was pitch black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. No face, just smooth shadow where features should have been. And yet, I knew it was watching me. "You ain't got to run," Diddy said, still smiling. "You work here. You're part of the house." But the shadow behind him breathed. Not air, but heat, hunger. That's when I broke. I turned and ran. I don't remember the door opening. I don't remember the stairs or the gravel under my shoes. Only the sound of my heartbeat pounding like war drums. I found a security SUV idling behind the garage, keys still in the ignition. I didn't think. I just jumped in, slammed it into drive, and tore down the private road until my tires screamed. But even as the mansion disappeared in the mirror, his smile stayed in my head. That shadow burned into my vision. And worse than both, his words. "You always gonna remember me." I didn't know it then. But those words weren't meant only for Justin. They were meant for me. And they followed me all the way to the night Pac died. By the time September of '96 came, I wasn't the same man anymore. That house, those walls, that hum, they had worked their way under my skin. I told myself I'd escaped. I told myself I'd run far enough. But escape was an illusion. Once you step inside a circle, you don't leave it. You carry it. That's why, when the call came, I answered. When the black SUV pulled up, I got inside. And that's how I found myself in Las Vegas, moving through a city that felt alive with neon and death at the same time. Everyone was there for the fight. Tyson had just knocked out Selden in the first round. The strip buzzed like a hive, but I wasn't there for the fight. I was there because he was. Diddy? He was calm that night. Too calm. Not the high-energy mogul people saw on TV. Not the man in videos flashing champagne and dancing through clubs. He was quiet, watchful, his smile faint, stretched like a knife. Around him, men moved like shadows. Cars shifted in formation. It felt less like a celebration and more like a procession. When the shots rang out on Flamingo Road, the city shifted. You could feel it. One moment Pac was alive, the next he was slumped in the passenger seat of a BMW, Suje's shirt stained with blood. Sirens screamed. Crowds gathered. Vegas became a stage for chaos. But where was I? I was with him. In the aftermath, when everyone else was running, when fear was tightening its grip around the city, I was standing in a hotel suite with Diddy. The TV played breaking news, the anchors stumbling over themselves as the words Tupac Shakur shot crawled across the screen. The air was heavy, thicker than the Vegas heat. thicker than smoke. And he just sat there, silent, watching. Finally, he spoke. "You feel that?" he asked. His voice was soft, almost gentle. I didn't answer. My chest was already tight, the hum of that house still alive inside me. He leaned back, smiling faintly. The same smile he wore in the red room, the same one that burned itself into me that night. "Energy don't die," he whispered. "It just changes hands." I'll never forget those words. Not because of what they meant in that moment, but because of how he said them. Calm, certain. Like Pac's death wasn't chaos at all. Like it was part of something rehearsed, something planned, something already decided long before those bullets tore through the Vegas night. He turned toward me, his eyes black, bottomless, alive with something I still can't name. "They always remember," he said. "And they always keep performing." The TV flickered with footage of Suge's BMW riddled with holes, reporters shouting, police scrambling, and beside it, his smile. The same smile I'd seen in the mansion. The same smile Justin had seen under those stage lights. That was the night I realized the truth. Pac's death wasn't just violence. It wasn't just gang rivalries or rap wars. It was a performance too. A ritual. The same current I saw in that house, the same hum that moved through the walls. It was here now, spreading into the world through blood. And he was the conductor. I walked out of that suite shaking, my skin crawling like it wanted to shed. I told myself I'd forget his words, but I never did, because he was right. Energy doesn't die. It changes hands. And once it touches you, there's no going back. I was with Diddy the night Pac died. And what he said that night still haunts me. People always talk about Pac's death like it was an ending. The night the music stopped. The night the war between East and West reached its breaking point. But standing there with Diddy, hearing his words, I knew it wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning. The world saw chaos, blood on the strip, Suge's car riddled with holes. Fans saw tragedy. The industry saw opportunity. But Diddy, he saw transfer, the current moving forward. And after that night, nothing was the same. I tried to walk away again. I told myself it was too much, that I'd cut all ties, disappear into the cracks of some other city. But the house never let me go. Even when I left Los Angeles, I still felt the hum inside me. Some nights, lying in a cheap motel room, I'd wake up sweating, convinced the air was vibrating. That low frequency buzzing in my teeth, the same sound he said wasn't from the house, but from underneath. It was in me now. I kept seeing him on TV, smiling, dancing, hosting award shows, people cheering like he was untouchable. And then I'd see Justin, pale, eyes darting in interviews, collapsing mid-tour, canceling shows. The headlines called it exhaustion, anxiety, faith struggles. They gave every reason except the one I knew was true. He never left that room. That laugh, the hollow, broken laugh I'd heard with my own ears, still followed him. Every performance after was haunted by it. His smile lagged behind his body, like his soul was stuck back in that velvet chair while the rest of him kept performing on command. The mansion did that to him. It did it to all of us. I started moving from city to city, never staying in one place for too long. I burned IDs, used cash, stayed underground. Not because of the law, Not because of contracts or NDAs, but because of the feeling. That shadow. The one that rested its hand on Diddy's shoulder in the foyer. The one that breathed heat without air. I couldn't shake the sense it followed me. Some nights I'd wake up and swear I saw it at the foot of the bed. A faceless outline, just watching, reminding me that I was still part of the house, still carrying the mark. And always, when I thought I was safe, I'd hear it again. The hum. Sometimes it came from walls, from streetlights, from nowhere at all. Sometimes it came from inside my own chest, like my heart had been retuned to their frequency. I'd freeze in place, sweat pouring down my back, waiting for it to stop. It never stopped. Diddy kept rising higher. Every headline, every deal, every flashy moment was proof that whatever moved through that house had found its perfect host. And every so often, Pac's name would resurface. Documentaries, interviews, people asking questions about that night in Vegas. But I couldn't listen, because I already knew the answer. It wasn't just bullets that killed Pac. It wasn't just violence in the streets. It was that same current I'd seen spread from hand to hand in the mansion. That same infection that clung to Justin under the stage lights. That same shadow that whispered through Diddy's smile. And the worst part? He told me, energy don't die, it just changes hands. Those words stayed with me long after Pac was gone, long after I ran, long after I tried to bury myself under new names and new lives. Because deep down, I knew what he meant. Pac's energy hadn't ended that night. It had been taken, absorbed, folded into the performance. And that performance never stopped. Time doesn't move the same once you've seen what I've seen. The calendar flips, faces change, new songs climb the charts. But underneath it all, the same current hums. That low vibration that started in his house, that night in the Red Room, that night in Vegas, it never went away. In the years after Pac's death, I watched the industry like someone watching smoke curl from under a door. Everyone else laughed at the rumors, at the strange interviews, at the stars who vanished and reappeared like ghosts. But I knew better. I had seen the source. Every time a young star broke down on stage, every time someone disappeared to rehab or find themselves, I thought of that velvet chair, that red light blinking on a camera. That laugh Justin couldn't control. I thought of the way Pac's energy had been spoken about, like it was a commodity, not a life. And I realized none of them ever really escaped. They just kept performing. People joke about Diddy's parties, call them legendary, wild, the place to be. They never ask why the rumors never stop. They never ask why so many who walk in come out looking different, hollow-eyed, changed. Some laugh louder, some grow quieter, some vanish for months at a time, and then they return, polished, obedient, moving like marionettes to invisible strings. I saw it firsthand. I saw the touching, the way people brushed shoulders like it was more than casual. I saw Orlando conducting them like an orchestra. It wasn't chaos, it was choreography, a ritual spreading like infection. And yet, no one dared say it out loud. They covered it with headlines. Exhaustion, anxiety, fame, stress. Too much money, too young. But those weren't explanations. They were excuses. What broke them wasn't the spotlight. It was the house. That mansion with no clocks, no windows, and a hum behind its walls. Meanwhile, Diddy thrived. He rose higher with each year. New ventures, new names, new deals. Always smiling, always untouchable. The same smile I saw the night Pac died. Sometimes when I caught his face on TV, I'd feel that same chill from the Red Room, that same presence leaning over his shoulder. And it didn't matter where I was, Chicago, Denver, some nameless roadside motel. It always felt like he could see me too, like his eyes stretched through the screen and pinned me where I stood. Because once you're marked, you're never really free. I moved cities like other people changed passwords. I changed names, I deleted social media, used burner phones, paid cash only. But no matter how far I went, I couldn't scrub his words from my mind. Energy don't die. It just changes hands. I started to wonder how many hands it had passed through since that night in Vegas. How many lives had been hollowed out, repurposed, recycled into the performance? How many other young stars had stood under those amber lights, with that camera blinking red, forced to laugh through their own breaking? And worse, how many of us carried it without even knowing? The whispers kept spreading. Strange breakdowns, odd interviews, celebrities staring off mid-sentence like they were listening to something no one else could hear. The world laughs. I don't, because I know the joke's on us. Years have passed since that night in Vegas, but time doesn't erase the weight of words. Pac is long gone, but what Diddy whispered still burns through me like it was spoken yesterday. I tried to bury it, tried to live quiet, but there are some things you can't outrun. I change names as often as I change addresses. I burn IDs, ditch phones, stay away from cameras. I don't keep social media. I don't linger in one place longer than a week. I live like a ghost in my own skin. Because deep down, I know the truth. Once you've been inside his world, once the shadow touches you, you're never really free. Some nights I wake up gasping, heart pounding, certain there's something standing at the end of the bed. Not a man, not even a shape I can describe. Just presence, watching, waiting, breathing heat into the room. The same thing I saw resting its hand on his shoulder the night I tried to run. And always I hear the hum. I've heard it in motel walls, in subway tunnels, in the hollow space between my ribs when I'm alone. It's not music, it's not machines. It's a frequency, alive and patient. It waits for you to notice. And once you notice, you can't unhear it. I see his face everywhere. News clips, old music videos, memes, laughing, smiling, performing like he's the king of the world. And sometimes, for a split second, I swear I see Pac's reflection in his smile, or Justin's hollow laugh echoing in the background. Because that's the part no one wants to admit. None of them ever really left. They're still there, folded into the performance. I don't want fame. I don't want justice. I don't even want to be remembered. I just want distance. But how do you distance yourself from something that's inside you? That night in Vegas, when the city was alive with lights and sirens and Pac's blood still fresh on the pavement, Diddy leaned back and whispered words that changed me forever. Energy don't die. It just changes hands. I know now what he meant. Pac's energy didn't vanish. It was taken, absorbed, redirected. The same way I saw it in that mansion, passing hand to hand, smile to smile, body to body. The same way Justin carried it after that velvet chair. The same way I still feel it crawling under my skin when I wake in the dark. And if you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, then the warning is yours now, too. If you ever find yourself near one of those parties you can't find on Instagram, If you ever hear the hum behind the walls, if you ever see a velvet chair waiting under amber lights, leave. Don't stay for the performance. Don't wait for the smile. Don't let the shadow rest its hand on your shoulder, because once it does, you'll carry it forever. I was with Diddy the night Pac died, and what he said still haunts me. I don't live like other people anymore. My life is one long escape route, a string of cheap motels, bus stations, and borrowed names. Some call it paranoia. I call it survival. Because once you've stood in his house, once you felt the hum in your chest, you understand. This isn't superstition. It's contagion. I stopped keeping personal belongings years ago. No photo albums, no mementos. I carry only what I can throw in a bag and abandon in seconds. Even sleep is a luxury I rarely allow myself, because every time I close my eyes, I hear echoes of that night. The muffled bass of the party, Orlando's laughter, Pac's name flashing across the TV screen, and Diddy's whisper, calm, certain, final. Energy don't die. It just changes hands. The older I get, the clearer I see it, the pattern. Young stars drawn into the circle celebrated as prodigies, then hollowed out by something unseen. Some fade away quietly, others burn out in public breakdowns. And every time, the world shakes its head, blames fame, blames pressure, blames everything except the truth. I watch from the shadows. I see the same look in their eyes that I saw in Justin's that night in the performance room. A delay, a fracture, a smile that doesn't quite belong to them anymore. I see Pac's energy in every new tragedy, every rising star who falls too soon. The mansion was never just a house. It was a machine, a place where the current was fed, where souls were repurposed, where energy was recycled and handed over to him. And if I'm right, it didn't stop there. Vegas proved that. Pac's death was proof that the performance wasn't confined to one mansion, one city, one set of walls. It spread, and it's still spreading. I've spent years running, but some truths don't fade. Some words echo louder the farther you get from them. And his words from that night, the night Pac died, are louder now than they've ever been. I see Diddy's smile in every headline, every performance, every legendary party whispered about in Hollywood. I see Pac's shadow in the cracks of every conspiracy, every interview that feels off, every artist who comes back from silence looking emptier than before. I see Justin's hollow laugh in the nervous breakdowns of a new generation. And I feel the shadow at my back every night. That's why I'm telling this story. Not for clicks, not for fame, not even for revenge, but because the current doesn't stop at one man's door. It moves, it waits, it feeds. And if you're not careful, if you get too close, it will touch you too. So if you ever hear the hum behind the walls, if you ever walk into a room with no clocks and no windows, if you ever see a velvet chair glowing under stage lights, run. Don't hesitate. Don't look back. Don't wait for the smile. Because once you hear the whisper, once you feel the hand on your shoulder, it's already too late. And now, it haunts you too.